Protentago asks, why is digital so popular when top pilots, Phoenix, Steele, Aux Plumes, etc., fly analog? Don't people want to fly like them and therefore use what they use? Digital is popular because it gives a better experience to the majority of people. I realize that that's probably going to be a controversial statement, and despite the fact that I just spouted it off the cuff, I tried to craft it carefully. Like Mr. Steele, famously rejected DJI for a long time because he is so focused on low latency. And then he realized that DJI gives incredible detail, range, and penetration, and started using DJI for his cinematic and chase rigs, but still uses analog for his freestyle videos. I say uses. I don't actually know if, it's been a while since I saw him do a freestyle rip, so maybe I assume that's still true, though. I think he's sort of a diehard. In some ways, pilots like Phoenix, Steele, and Aux Plumes are outliers. They're not typical people. Most people aren't going to fly like them. And most people know that they're not going to fly like them. So when you take a typical person who's a mediocre pilot at best, and you give them the choice of a digital video link that has high definition, amazing range, amazing penetration, and an analog video link, that person is going to realize that they don't get any advantage from the analog latency because they're not that good a pilot anyway. Just to put it really bluntly. When you have somebody who is in the 99.9th percentile in terms of their skill, they can make decisions about their gear that work for them that don't work for anybody else who is not in that 99th percentile. You see this all the time. You see it in photography. You see it in music. People want to emulate some famous musician's guitar. And it turns out that unless you have their skill level, their exact setup is really bad for you or doesn't provide an advantage, right? Like a guitar with ultra low action is going to let a really skilled guitarist be able to play really quickly and cleanly. But for a mediocre guitarist, it's just going to be scratchy and noisy and shitty and have terrible tone because you don't have the hand strength to really press the strings and make the tone. You need a higher action. Okay, anybody who doesn't play guitar has no idea what I'm talking about. So there is a degree to which people want to emulate these guys. But the utility of the digital video link, in my opinion, is enough to overwhelm the sort of pointless desire to emulate a pilot. Buying Mr. Steele's quad isn't going to make you fly like him. Someone out there thinks that they will, and they want the experience, and so they buy his quad. And then they fly it, and they go, oh my God, how do you deal with this analog breakup? I hate this. And then they see a DJI quad, and they go, that's better, I'm going to do that. Because it turns out they don't fly like him anyway, no matter what they have. So that's how I would take that. ZS wants to know, can you explain why people say storage voltage is 3.8 volts when battery manufacturers put 3.7 volts on the packaging? Yes. Because 3.7 volts is the nominal voltage and 3.8 volts is the storage voltage, and those are two different things. For any given battery chemistry, there are several voltages that you should know about. One is the empty voltage, which for a LiPo is 3.0 volts. And that below that voltage, you damage the battery. One is the full voltage, and the full voltage actually is not like a hard number. Like a LiPo, you can charge to 4.1 volts, and it will actually last way longer than if you charge it to 4.2 volts. And you can actually charge a LiPo to 4.3 volts, and it won't just immediately light on fire. It'll just have a shorter lifespan. So there's this curve of max charge voltage to lifespan, and somewhere somebody decided that for a LiPo, the max charge is 4.2 volts. I don't know how they decided that, whether it was just an arbitrary decision or whether there's some scientific basis. But so you've got the minimum and the maximum. You've got the storage voltage, which is the voltage at which the minimum change in the battery chemistry will occur. So 3.8 volts is where, if the battery's at 3.8 volts, it will last the longest in storage. And then 3.7 volts is the nominal voltage, which I assume is something like halfway between, let's see. No, that's not halfway. 4.2 minus 3.0 is 1.2 divided by 2 would be 0.6. So I don't know what the nominal voltage is. I don't. But 3.7 volts is the nominal voltage, and it really doesn't mean anything in terms of your daily use of the battery. The only thing the nominal voltage is used for is calculating the watt hours. When you calculate the watt hours, you multiply the milliamp hours times the nominal voltage. So I don't know why that is. Sealy FPV. Sealy? My friend has DJI 03 and goggles too. The OSD doesn't want to work. I already put the right preset. Are you sure that you loaded the Betaflight 4.4 preset? There is both a 4.3 and a 4.4 preset, and they are different and do not cross pollinate. Make sure you loaded the 4.4 preset, not the 4.3 preset. That could be a thing that could have caused this problem. That's my first guess. What's the best beginner radio? Asks Jesse Garcia. Jesse Garcia, that depends on your, there's no one best. That depends on your budget. I do want to point you toward my website, fpvknowitall.com. The Ultimate FPV Shopping List. It has a section on controllers. Let's see if my edition of the Radiomaster Pocket has been done. No. So the Radiomaster Pocket is in the process of being added. That's the only change I would make. I would say these days, if you want to save the absolute most money, than the Radiomaster Pocket. But I think you should spend a little more and get a Boxer, a Zorro, or a TX16S, depending on your budget and your preference for size and portability and price. My recommendation is to get an Express LRS radio. Express LRS has an annoying learning curve that some people have no problem with it. Some people, it really makes them want to pull their hair out. Nevertheless, I think Express LRS is where receivers are going in the world of FPV. And I think it's one of those cases where if you get yourself over the learning curve, then it'll be worth it and you'll get in general a much, much better experience overall. Matt Norton says, I have the Jumper T20S with a 2.4 gigahertz with Express LRS. Do I need the 4-in-1 to fly FrSky D8? Not showing an internal RX, but it shows up with external RX. Matt, thank you for a $5 super chat. If you bought the Jumper T20 with Express LRS inside, you do need a 4-in-1 module to fly the FrSky D8. You do not have an internal 4-in-1 module. You have an ELRS module, and it cannot bind to a D8 receiver.